Thank you, Ambassador Surendra Kumar. As usual, I am grateful to you for involving me in your programs, and I find that you are extremely active and you choose very relevant subjects for discussion, and you have the magic of being able to invite relevant people, in which I don't include myself, but I certainly include the distinguished members of the panel. BRICS, to my mind, is a grouping with a great deal of promise. I was in part associated with the setting up of this group when I was ambassador in Moscow, because we had the Russia-India-China dialogue. And then I began to sense that from the Russian side, they wanted to enlarge this grouping. And they had an eye especially on Brazil. Maybe it was part of their larger strategy of establishing their influence in Latin America. And on our side, we were not very sure whether we should have the BRICS operate at the political level. We saw good reason for BRIC, not BRICS, for BRIC to meet and discuss issues of the global economy. The WTO-related issues made a lot of sense. In any case, India and Brazil were collaborating very closely on these issues, but not at the foreign minister level, because we didn't quite see what the logic of this might have been. But at the end of the day, the Russians took the initiative to hold a meeting of BRICS at the foreign minister level on the margins of the UN General Assembly in whatever year it was. I'm very bad at remembering years and dates. And Pranab Mukherjee was the finance minister then, but the foreign minister couldn't go, but he represented India. And that, in a sense, set up BRIC as a political organization, not as an economic organization. Or let's say the thrust behind this was political, though of course at the end of the day, the economic part is in some ways more important. And then since the Russians took the initiative to bring in Brazil, the Chinese felt that they also had to play favorites. And since their strongest position in the African continent is in South Africa, so when they were to hold the summit, they decided that it should be expanded to South Africa. So now you have BRICS. To my mind, and this might be disputed by some of the panelists who may come later, one should not underrate the geopolitical importance of BRICS. First of all, these are key countries from various continents who have come together. And even if one were to argue that there is not all that much in common between them, which can also be disputed, all the more reason to say that this is quite an imaginative and visionary kind of a step where they are bringing in deliberately, knowing the difficulties and the differences between participating countries, to bring them together on a common platform. Why? Because there is an attempt to form a non-Western group. As it is, the global international relations are dominated by the West. So is it that the West should continue to lead in terms of initiatives and ideas, in terms of how the global relations should be conducted in the decades ahead? Or is there a role for non-Western countries who feel that they are at the receiving end to come together and see if they can shape the future international relations environment by making sure that their voice is heard. And what is the best way of doing that? Is certainly to bring together the kind of countries that have been brought together. Though, of course, some may now argue that there might be reason now to bring in some other one or two countries so as to enlarge the base of this grouping. On the geopolitical side or on the political side, what brings these countries together is very clear. I think most of the world is very worried about certain trends in international relations. All these policies of regime change and the imposition of democracy through military means, this interference in the internal affairs of countries, this responsibility to protect, which gives a cover for actually promoting the specific geopolitical interests of a particular country or a group of countries, the whole issue of multipolarity, which is absolutely necessary in the global system where power is shifting now from the West increasingly to the East. Now, this doesn't mean that BRIC countries want any confrontation with the Western world, far from it, because each individual BRIC country has extent, well, Russia perhaps no longer, because it is at the receiving end today of US and European Union. But in any case, the relationship between Russia and EU is extremely important. So each of the economically important also. So each of these countries has very major relationships with the United States, Europe, and the Western world in general. And in some ways, the relationship, if you take China as an example, with the United States is far greater than they have with any other country. So clearly, from the Chinese point of view or from the Russian, perhaps less so now, and certainly not from the Indian point of view, that we see this as an anti-Western group. What we certainly see that as is a kind of a corrective in management of global relations where policies, concepts should not be unilaterally determined by a set of countries. Now, BRICS seems to have lost a little bit of its luster, as some might say, because economic growth in all these countries, including China relatively, have declined. And there are some, therefore, who mock, more or less, at this grouping. But then, you know, after all, if you look at Europe or major countries of Europe, what is the rate of growth? 1%, 0.5%. United States is struggling a huge deal with its own economy. So if the criteria of judging the importance of a group is the rate of growth that individual countries enjoy, then there's reason also to turn your backs on the entire Western world, saying they're finished, they're declining, and they do not count very much, or should not count very much in international affairs. But I think this is a very, how should I say, perverse way of judging the situation on the ground. Now, in terms of differences between BRIC countries, fine, yes, of course, there are differences, but aren't there differences within the Western countries? In fact, the economic differences between Europe and United States have been extremely sharp. In fact, part of the reason why India, more or less up till now, has been able to make its weight felt in the WTO is because of the antagonism between US and European Union. And if they were to really get together, the margin of maneuver for the rest of the world, including India, will sharply decrease. So therefore, I don't think we should make too much about these differences. For example, in the Middle East, Germany, which is now the key country in Europe, did not participate in the war against Iraq, did not participate in the war against Libya, although they are members of NATO, and they still have US forces stationed on German soil. But they didn't do that because they disagreed with the US policy. France under Chirac did not participate in the Iraq war either. So it's not as if on key geopolitical issues, the West is always united. I would agree that within BRICS, the problem is between India and China. because if you take China's relations with South Africa or Brazil, they're excellent. China's relations with Russia have improved greatly, and to my mind, because of the short-sightedness of Western policies towards Russia, which is not helpful to us in terms of throwing Russia more into the arms of China. But the weakest link in BRICS is the India-China relationship. But there, I think both the previous government and the new government have now a policy of reaching out to China and developing a strong economic relationship. Mr. Modi has taken some initiatives vis-a-vis China, which some could consider surprising. The first foreign dignitary to be received by United States, by Shri Modi, was from China. And he has invited the Chinese president to visit India. Earlier, that visit was to be in October, November. Now it's going to be in September. We now want Chinese investment in our economy, in part to balance, to bring about more balance in our trade relations, etc., etc. So I think the India-China relationship, which remains difficult, and where the border issue will continue to put a brake on our relationship, nevertheless is proceeding in a direction of closer ties and better understanding, and certainly more economic relationship. Insofar as the results from Fortaleza, the last summit meeting of BRICS, they agreed on a new development bank. Some may think that this bank doesn't amount to anything very much, because compared to the World Bank or the ADB, it won't have enough resources, at least to begin with. But then, you know, even the World Bank has a paid-up capital of $260-some billion, and ADB has about $160 billion. So if we can reach $100 billion for this bank, it's not too small. Then there is this credit, some facility that has been set up in order to help in balance of payments. These are small steps, but they are steps in the right direction, and show a determination on the part of these countries to establish institutions which they manage themselves and which are not governed or directed or controlled by Western countries with all the conditionalities that come with them. You had spoken, Ambassador Surendra Kumar, about the position of the various BRIC countries on some specific issues. Yes, on the problem of India's membership or Brazil's membership of the Security Council, I think the BRICS position is very unsatisfactory. And I can't understand why the BRICS don't give open support to India and Brazil's candidature, and fobbing us off by saying that we support an increased role of India in the UN system is adding insult to injury. I don't know what that means. It's not for them to determine the increased role of India, that we can play ourselves. But when it comes to UN Security Council, there is this wretched veto that is in the hands of the P5, and therefore, unfortunately, we have to get them on board. On WTO, we are on the same wicket, despite what happened recently in Bali, where India has stood by a certain position, knowing very well that on this it might be largely isolated. But I don't need to go into details. I think we know why we took that position. But I won't read too much into this in terms of our able to work together in BRICS on a host of other issues on the economic side. On Libya, Iraq, ISIS, I think we are all on the same page, though Brazil being far away and in Latin America and not facing such problems, maybe a little more at ease, relatively speaking, about these nasty trends that we see. But I think in terms of principle, all the countries are on board. And insofar as the common worldview of India and China is concerned, on some of the things that I mentioned earlier about non-interference and regime change and all that, these are key issues in terms of governing international relations. On that, we are on the same wicket. On climate change, we are working together, and on the energy issues, I think there should be scope in the future to work together, because both India and China are huge importers of energy, and instead of competing with each other, it's better that we find some ways of cooperating with each other, but that's a different subject. Finally, I'll end by saying that the fact that we are a member of BRICS should be balanced with the fact that we have strategic partnership with a whole host of countries which are outside BRIC. We have a strategic partnership with the United States, with Europe, with the European Union, with France, with the UK, with Germany, with Japan, and so many others. So it's not as if we put all our eggs in the BRICS basket in terms of our conduct of our external relations. And even insofar as our economic relations are concerned, we have FTAs and CPAs with Japan and Korea and ASEAN and what have you, and we're negotiating with the European Union. So for us, our membership of BRICS is part of our strategic autonomy, where we can play on all platforms in a way that actually helps us to advance our interests in a pragmatic manner. So that's what I have to say in terms of preliminary remarks, and I don't know if I have anything left to say at the end, but, but let me now invite Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, who will give us an academic perspective on BRICS.